Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining for our webinar today. We're going to get started in just a second. Bobby is going to lead us out. Go ahead and turn it over to him when he's ready. We do have some people joining the webinar, so just 1 second, we'll get started. Bobby, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Sorry, I had a little internet connection problem. I had to reset.
No problems at all. Okay, Bobby, I think we're ready to get rolling. So you can go ahead and get us started, and we'll get going.
Sounds good. Welcome, everybody. We are now at the Easy Charts and Dashboards using Collabion DataParts webinar. Thank you for joining us. Just a couple housekeeping items here. On the upper right-hand side of your screen, you shall see a little control panel. If in fact you have a question, please put it in the question area. And during the webinar, we will be we'll be answering the questions. Unfortunately, we won't be able to raise hands or have you speak. We're expecting well over 100 people on, since over 200 actually signed up for this. So it's highly likely that we'll have a lot of questions, but we'll have people in the background answering those questions for you. Okay. We do have a couple poll questions in here also. We would really appreciate everybody answering those so that we can get a good idea of who's here today. And with that, I'm going to introduce Will Cooper. Will is a pro at this. In fact, Will is a solutions developer for Collabion. And let's go ahead and get started. Will?
Okay, thanks, Bobby. Appreciate the intro. Thanks, everybody, for jumping on our web meeting today. And as Bobby mentioned, I'm going to do a presentation. What I want to talk to you guys about is a really great solution for doing charting, dashboards, and grids inside of SharePoint. And these are solutions that you can look at both for on-premise SharePoint, and also we have a charting solution for Office 365. Okay, so before we jump in, I just want to give you a quick background. I started out in the Microsoft arena doing .NET web development, and I've been doing consulting with many businesses over my career. I like interacting with customers and also doing development. About 7 years ago, I really started getting heavy into SharePoint, and today that's really where my focus is. Just to tell you a little bit about the Collabion team, we focus on visualizing data. We really believe in that, and we look to build solutions that will allow you to take your SharePoint environment and make it look really good. One part about that that's important is to make it easy. And if you get nothing else from my presentation today, I hope you'll realize that it truly is an easy experience to build these charts and dashboards using the Collabion tools. We've gone through great efforts to make sure that's the case. We have fun helping and working with our customers. We have fun improving our products. And out of all the things I do in SharePoint, I have to say that working on charts is the most fun. I really enjoy making them. There's lots of interesting possibilities. And I believe that anybody who's using our tools will have the similar kind of experience. Before starting work with Collabion, I've been a customer of theirs for about 4 years. I had a large on-premise SharePoint customer, and I went and looked at various charting solutions. And at that time, I felt very clearly that Collabion was going to be the best option because it was so easy to use. And we did install the trial version of their product, and were very quickly convinced this was clearly going to be a great solution, and that's certainly the case, and I feel that way today. Just to tell you a little bit about the DataParts software, which we're talking about today, this is both a full charting and reporting solution. So not only does this make those charts that you're going to put on the page, you can actually have grid reports. It really provides you a comprehensive solution in terms of visualizing the data in your SharePoint solutions. These tools deploy directly inside of your SharePoint user interface. You don't have to download and use any kind of desktop application or outside tools. You get to build these charts and dashboards right there in SharePoint. It's just a matter of going into a web part menu, doing configuration, and that's really all that it takes. I do want to mention briefly At the very end, we've got a really good offer going on, which is just for attendees for the webinar today. So I hope you guys will stick around to the end because we have a really good option for you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll here for you.
Let's do it.
Yeah, hey, what version or versions of SharePoint are you currently utilizing? If everybody can please go ahead and answer it, I appreciate it. And I'm going to wait till about 80% of you do vote. So if you haven't voted yet, you please do. And I know who's not voting, so I might call you out. Right now we're
don't harass the attendees.
Yeah, all right. Right now we're at about 79. Wow, we just passed 80%. Wow, we got 85%. All
okay,
right,
that's good.
I'm going to go ahead.
It says caffeine, I think. Hopefully, everybody's had their coffee.
I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I'm going to share the results with you. And wow, okay, we still have. You know what? Every time we do this, it seems like there's a big mix. And in this case, wow, it looks like a number of you have both 2013 and SharePoint Online. I'm kind of seeing, well, 2010 and older. That's obviously okay. That's obvious. But all right, thanks, guys. We'll do another poll in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good deal. So the good news for those of you guys that are in Office 365, Collabion does have a charting app that's recently released for that. I really recommend that you get on board early with that. It's an excellent deal. It really costs only a little bit of money, and that is going to continue to improve. It is true our on-premise product is full featured. It has many, many options, whereas with Office 365, we're in the process of building up that solution. But I can tell you that progress is happening rapidly, and it would be a great advantage to you to start working with those charts and have the opportunity, to become an expert at using that in all your Office 365 solutions. All right, so let's start by talking about some of the problems with SharePoint. From a look and feel standpoint, SharePoint is really not good to look at. And the longer I work with SharePoint, the stronger I feel about this. And this is an opportunity where businesses miss in most cases, but hopefully in using these tools, you're going to have a way to change that. So in SharePoint, we have a lot of blank white space and then list data. It's not interesting to look at. Every page looks the same, just not a very good story for our users. Here's a typical list screen. We've got gray on white. Nothing really stands out. I really have to kind of dig around to get any kind of information. So this is what we want to avoid. So like I say, we've got all these clone pages and areas in SharePoint, and that just creates a maze for users. That's just not anything that anyone is going to get excited to look at. I told you charts are fun, and that's what we want to do for our users. They're fun to make and they're fun to show. So I want to talk about doing that. When I talk about the Collabion product or charting in general, I all the time hear people mentioning Power BI. And of course, that is a full charting solution, but there's some problems in regard to Power BI. The first thing that comes to my mind is I really think of that as a developer tool. And while it's true there are many options there, it is a complicated experience. There's a steep learning curve, and there's a lot of things to figure out. You've got to use external tools to work with that, and there's some limitation in terms of how it works. With the Collabion solution, it's a dedicated charting solution. These guys have been building and honing this product for many years, and there's a lot of functionality in Collabion that you can't even do with Power BI. The short answer on why to use Collabion versus Power BI, it's fast and it's easy, and that's just a fact. And if you use these two tools side by side, I don't think it would take you any time to draw the same conclusion that I have. Okay, one thing that's important is interactivity. Usually when we're thinking about charts, we're just thinking about a static diagram up on a page, and you look at that and it's interesting and it's nice in presentation, and then you go on to the next thing. Instead, what I encourage you to think about is drill down functionality. We don't want to just show a chart on a page. We want to have a way to click on the chart and show context information. If I want to look at a particular month or a particular category of information, I should be able to click in my chart and go to that specific information. And the good news with Collabion is you have some options there. So this can mean I can go to an underlying chart, or I can go to a filter view, or anything that I can dream up. But the whole point here is to make that interactive solution instead of just a static chart. Okay, so here's kind of a typical scenario. So in this case, I've got projects by category. When I click on this engineering column, it opens up yet another chart. So I can drill down, it's dynamic information, it's changing. So this is very polished and professional. This is an interactive experience. So instead of providing a diagram, I'm actually providing a tool for users to use. And by the way, if you have questions as we're going through this, use that chat interface. We're going to get you guys, we've got panelists on with us, and we'll have discussion at the end. One of my favorite aspects of the Collabion software is the preview functionality. You're going to see this more in my demo as I get through this. I promise I'll get through these PowerPoint slides quickly because I really want to get to the actual product itself. I just need to show you this fast. The preview function is showing you exactly what you're making while you're doing it real time, and that's so important. I've worked in other charting solutions where you have to operate blind. You're applying configuration, but basically you have to go through a few screens or settings and hope that you set it correctly, and it's a frustrating experience as you sort of go back and forth, change your settings to see what had happened. With the Collabion interface, it's showing you real time as you're adjusting those border widths, as you're changing the colors, as you're making any kind of settings, you're gonna see exactly what you're doing. And it makes learning the product so easy because you can click on the buttons and try different settings and you have that immediate feedback to see what you're doing. So learning the product happens really fast with this feature. I mentioned to you when I was first looking at this product how simple it is to install. One thing I can't stand with demo versions of software is in most cases it's limited or there's annoying aspects where I can't do everything I want to. It's a really simple case with Collabion. If you install this on your SharePoint tenant, it has 100% of the functionality in there, so you can try all this charting immediately. It's really simple to do. So there's really no reason not to just go ahead and install this and try it out a little bit. I mentioned how easy it is. You don't need to read any user manuals or anything like that. You can just go ahead and hook up to a SharePoint list, add a Collabion web part to your page, and start making charts within minutes. So you can try this out really easily without having to carve out a big chunk of time to figure out what you're doing. Okay, and also I mentioned the Office 365 app is easy.
Sorry,
you want to do another poll?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Go right ahead.
Sorry. Okay. Hey, so could you please let us know what are you currently utilizing? I'd appreciate it. I will wait till we get about 80% there. There's a number of tools out there. And we're at about 50%, so if you could all please vote, that'd be great. I guess we should have another option on there for none of the above, but we do have not using any. Okay, we are at about 75%, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and I will share the results with you. And it looks like, well, as expected, about 35% or 33% of you are utilizing Power BI, and 52% not using anything. So hopefully you'll like Collabion's solution here and start utilizing them. We do encourage you to download the trial.
Okay.
Cool. And finish. Okay.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate that. So. Wow, if I could reach through the internet and grab the people who don't have a charting solution, I sure would. It is such a huge difference, a world where you can put charting in SharePoint versus nothing at all, especially considering it's not too expensive. If you are wondering about the pricing options, it's pretty easy to look that up. Just go out to the Collabion website, and if you look on the products page, you can get a link to that. But this is probably the best investment you can make as an add-in for SharePoint in your farm. So boy, it's an easy sell for those of you guys who don't have a charting solution. Out of the box SharePoint, you have nothing you can do with charting. With Collabion, you have comprehensive charting. It's right in SharePoint. If you know how to add a web part to a SharePoint page, you can add a chart to the page. That's all you do. You add a Collabion charting part and away you go. Out of the box SharePoint, of course, we know we can do all kinds of list views in SharePoint, but it's not that interesting to look at. There's no kind of colors or shading or anything of that nature. With Collabion, you can do conditional formatting, that type of thing. So not only can I do charts, I can make really good list data where I'm highlighting columns or numbers, that type of thing. So we can do some great stuff there. As I mentioned, the problem in SharePoint, all the pages look the same, and really this is going to be your best weapon against that with the Collabion tools. You can create these great looking pages with charts and grids, and it just makes a huge impact visually in your environment. So in SharePoint, we have almost no pictures, and that's a real problem. You can always stick banner images or insert images on the page, but normally people don't do that, and it doesn't really make a dynamic environment, but of course we can insert that. So not hard to see why it's going to be better to have charts versus not at all. Let's talk about the process. I told you it's easy. I want to try to demonstrate that a little bit and talk about what are the steps when you make a chart, because it really is a simple process. So basically, when you get into this wizard, which we're just getting ready to get to, the first thing you're going to do is hook up to your data, right? With SharePoint, of course, it's all about lists, and normally that's the case. When I'm doing charts, I'm going to hook up to a SharePoint list and use that data. But what's nice is I have all kinds of options. So for those of you guys using Power BI, it's a similar kind of story. If I want to hook up to Excel data, if I want to connect to a SQL Server database or database up in Azure or Oracle or whatever, it's not a big deal. You just configure to hook up to your data source, and away you go. At the next step, you're just going to pick your fields that you're using in the chart. You know, in SharePoint lists, you may have lots of fields. Basically, you just need to pick out the ones that you're using for that particular diagram. We can do grouping of data. So if you want to, if you have like records by dates, for example, you can group that by the month. So you can sort of aggregate and cluster that data, and that corresponds to some of the charts. The chart types, this is the coolest thing. I told you that I love making charts, and they're really fun to do. As a challenge, what I like to do is try to figure out ways to make each of those different charts, because there's some really interesting and cool ones to look at. You kind of have to have the right data set to match up to that. But in any case, with Collabion, you've got, I believe, 58 different chart types. And, you know, more important than quantity is the fact that these charts look really awesome. They're isometric, 3D. I can have a gradient background. They're really cool to look at, and you can tweak them to get them to look just exactly the way you want. And that kind of brings me to the next step. All of those look and feel options. A lot of times when I'm making something like this, or if I've been in another tool, I always hit a wall. There's something I can't adjust, or I can't get it to look just right. All of those options are in the look and feel configuration. So if you want to adjust font sizes, borders, colors, where the legend shows up, it is amazingly configurable. Pretty much anything you can think of that you want to change in terms of the colors or fonts or things like that in the chart, there are options provided for you to do that. This product has been out there for several years, and through all that feedback and refinement, we've got really just about anything you can possibly think of in terms of adjusting the look of that chart. I mentioned the drill down earlier. You just do that right in the web part configuration menu. You just pick from those options, and you do some setup to indicate what you want to happen when people click on the chart. And then the last part of that is there are some extra options, more interactivity for your users in terms of filtering, exporting, that type of thing. You can kind of add some more interface for users rather than just pointing to a page with a chart where they can do nothing. I did want to mention real quick, Collabion and InfoWise have recently partnered together as technology partners. We share a common vision, and that is that visualizing data is key. These solutions work great together. I do a lot of work for my SharePoint customers using both of these frameworks. So these both offer you the opportunity to download and do a full test of it without any limitations. So I hope you take a look at that too. We've recently done some great webinars with InfoWise also to show you how you can do some things with dashboards there. So that can be a great part of your solution. All right, let's jump to it. I don't want to bore you guys with any more of these slides. So let's take a look at Collabion. So I'm going to jump over to my browser and take a look at what it's like to work with the web part configuration. All right, so one thing you can do immediately without having to even install anything at all, you can go into the live demo environment. This is awesome. You can just jump right into the SharePoint page and check out these charts, and that's what I'm doing today. And you can actually tinker around immediately and see how the adjustment works. So basically what you do is you add the web part to the page and hook up to your list. And you see some example charts that we have. And it's going to pull up this configuration menu. So I want to take some time to talk to you about how that works and how you work through the steps. So once it loads here, it brings up this menu. You can see it's kind of a wizard-like menu, and it's intuitive. It guides you through the steps. I'm not just throwing 100 options and I'm not sure where to begin. It starts me at the starting point. I mentioned you start by configuring your data. Normally I'd use SharePoint list, but you can see there's many options here. So whatever your data source may be, you just plug into that. You hit connect, and then after you've got that, you just pick the particular fields that you're using the diagram that you're showing. So it's really just a matter of checking the boxes of what you need to use, or you can bring in all the columns. Now, as far as updating that chart preview, it's just a matter of hitting apply. You're going to see that update real time. I'll change some look and feel options in a second to just show you how that works. So I can either work from that left menu navigation, or if I want, I can just hit previous next. But especially as a new user, I don't really have to worry where to begin. It's pretty obvious. I just start at the top and work my way down. Okay. If you want to do filtering on your data, you can do that. So you kind of have two options. You could either work from a view of like a SharePoint list, or if you want to add a filter to sort of refine your data results, you can do that from the screen. I mentioned for the grouping of data, as an example, if you wanted to sort of cluster your results by certain sets of data, I mentioned like dates, if you want to group it monthly, you can do that with the data grouping functionality. All right, so it's pretty easy. Notice in the UI, it guides you. It's not just sort of cryptic configuration screens where I don't know what to do. It's showing me. See, it shows me a diagram. It gives me a logical choice for this, and your options change real time as you do this. Notice also there's in-context help that gives you a little more detailed information. So that's really nice as a new user to do that. Top end records, if you just want to highlight, top sales results or things of that nature, you can do it with that configuration. I mentioned one of the kind of most fun things that I like with the charting is to try and experiment and try different charts, because there are really cool, awesome ones that you can make. So especially new and using this product, I encourage you to kind of do some sandboxing and challenge yourself. Try to make these different charts, and that's a really great way to start learning the product. Multi-series, it's a lot of times where you're comparing two data trends side by side. So we've got a whole series of charts for that. But it's awesome. I can see exactly what these charts look like from here. Otherwise I might have a hard time thinking what's logarithmic column, or what, I can see the chart right in front of me. So it gives me a nice visual indication of, what it is exactly that I'm doing. Let me get out of here. I think I've changed a setting that I shouldn't have. So go ahead.
Do you need a minute? I can do this last poll.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and go to the poll, and I'll go to the next part. That sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run this last one, and if you are interested in this product, we would like to know. If you would please let us know how to follow up with you, we'd appreciate it. In other words, if you don't answer this, you will likely get calls, emails, etc. And I'm just kidding you. We probably won't do that, but we'd appreciate it if you answered this. And I'll wait till at least 80% of you have answered. Right now we are at about 65%. So if just a few more of you will answer, that'd be great. And I'm going to go ahead and close it. Thank you for letting us know. We will get in touch as promised. All right, are you ready to keep going?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you, appreciate that. So sorry, I let my browser page sit up for far too long, but in any case, I got another one of my charts open. I'm in the cosmetics area. You can see I have all these different tabs I can go through. So the thing that's nice is I can build the chart really quickly, and then it really becomes about refinement, making little tweaks to add that extra polish on your chart. So in this case, if I want to change the background color, I can just apply that setting. When I click the apply button, it shows up real time for me on the right hand side. There it is. And then I just click finish. So it really matters a lot, the fact that you can do this stuff right in SharePoint. So for those of you using Power BI or just even considering adding a solution, that's something I want you to really consider. It can eat a lot of time. No matter what kind of charting you're doing, it's so critically important that you can do configuration and go back and forth between what you're looking at very quickly. And so it only makes sense to be able to do that directly in SharePoint, right where you're working with it. A situation where you're having to come in and out of your SharePoint environment or work with a desktop tool is going to be a slower solution. Now, if you're a developer, if you have the opportunity to work all the time on charts and you can go through all that, then it could be better for you. But for most of us, we just don't have the opportunity or the time to spend hours working through configuration or becoming an expert on a really deep tool like that. Okay, so the grid solution that I wanted to mention, this is something that fits hand in hand with the charting. And what's really cool about this is once you learn how to use the Collabion charting, there's really nothing more you have to learn because it's the same type of process. You're going to hook up to a data source. You just pick your data provider, apply filters, same patterns with the charting. Now, in this case, what we're able to do is conditional formatting based on user inputs in here. So this is creating a lot more visually compelling, interactive experience for users rather than the just plain old usual SharePoint list view. In terms of conditional formatting, you can come here, you can do that by cells or by rows. You can come here and set a role. So in here, I've got a rule that says when the value is greater than 150, highlight cells for me. So I can call out data and kind of highlight important information. See how that changed real time. Same concept. I've got a preview at the bottom. I can see exactly what it is that I'm doing. I don't have to save in and out of the web part to find out whether I got this right. That would create a very slow process. I can keep making that fine-tuning adjustments right from the Collabion interface. So really easy to do that. Before I get out of my browser, I just want to show you real quick a couple things. I mentioned to download the trial, just go to the Collabion homepage and click on that green button. If you want to go to the live demo, click on the blue button in the middle. I'll show you real quickly some pages of example charts that you can do that I've made in here. One thing that's cool is these even animate when they're loaded on the screen. So I'll just refresh this and see if I can show that to you. It's loading for me. I'll come back to that tab. Trend line is awesome. You can set a trend line and even control, how that looks if there's kind of a certain threshold you're trying to show. Oh, I missed the animation part. Okay, hold on one sec. It's just loading for me. There it goes. So that's pretty cool. Instead of just appearing on the page, it animates. So that's really nice. There's a chart I have in here that's kind of like a cascading waterfall type thing. If you want to show kind of building up to a particular goal, you can do this kind of accumulation type of view. This chart is one of my favorites. It's called Marimekko. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. It's kind of demonstrating two concepts at once. It's showing me the proportion, in this case, of different categories of projects. And then in the project, it's showing me portion by status. So this is, a really great thing to show on a dashboard, kind of combine a couple of concepts. Also, when I hover over, I'm getting detailed information, and that's configurable in your look and feel. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I just have kind of a few things, so we're going to get close to the wrap up. I appreciate you guys hanging with me through that part of the presentation. Just briefly, I want to tell you about the app for Office 365. If you don't have that and you are using Office 365, I hope you go to the Microsoft Store and download that today. Very simple to find. Just search for Collabion in the App Store for SharePoint. And same type of situation. You just work through your tabs and you can do your configuration, plug into your list data, similar type of process. And that's going to keep getting deeper and deeper and have all those deep configuration settings, just like the other one. Here's an example of a dashboard I set up in my own SharePoint environment, giving me some real-time data on some of the invoicing information I have in my site. All right, what do you need to do next? That maybe is kind of what you're considering. Well, what am I going to do with this information? So what you want to do, just head out to our site. If you want to just start playing with it right now, you can go into the live demo area. But really, truly, what you need to do is go ahead and get the demo installed. So you just download that trial. And as I say, it's just working through a wizard. The installation is very simple. And all this does is add web parts in your environment. So if you have any concerns about your SharePoint environment in terms of third-party tools, that's all it's doing is providing additional web part options for you. So it'll provide absolutely no issue from that standpoint. Here's the Collabion app in the SharePoint store. So we want to talk to you. We're interested in your feedback. If you feel you had specific questions that you wanted to get through and you want to talk to us directly, we hope that you'll reach out to us. So the best option there, go ahead and drop us an email to sales@collabion.com, and we can schedule a personalized demo with you. And if you want to talk about some of your specific requirements you're trying to hit, we'd be happy to talk to you about that. All right, so here's the offer that I want to tell you guys about. If you guys get the grid product in the next 2 weeks, or excuse me, the charts product, we will provide you the grid product free. That is a really awesome value. The charts product alone is super awesome, and if you guys were only going to get that, I think it would make a huge difference. But you get this extra software, which Collabion has been spending a long time polishing and getting ready, additional. So it's just for the people on our webinar. This is the first time we've had that offer, so I hope you know that this is a really big deal. So how are you going to do it? Get that demo installed first, try it out, and I'm sure you're going to have the same conclusion that I did. You're going to decide that we really got to get the product, and drop an email to our sales team. Just use subject line, "Where's my grid?" and we'll get you guys hooked up. You're going to get some awesome, cool software to go along with the charting. And that's it for that part of the presentation.